Hello and welcome to this special edition coming your way from Nile TV International regarding the latest developments in the Gaza Strip and the announcement of the US President Donald Trump of a special Palestinian technocratic committee to be running Gaza or the Gaza Strip for the near future. And to shedding more light on this important development that took place on Thursday, I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Dr. Milad Momtaz, the international relations expert. Dr. Milad, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International.
Thank you.
Anytime. First of all, how do you evaluate the formation of the Palestinian Technocrat Committee to be running the Gaza Strip?
Actually, that's a long-awaited move in my understanding, because I think we all have seen, what's been going on in Gaza for the last, I think, more than 2 years now, and the kind of ongoing agony and suffering of our brothers and sisters in Gaza. So I think even when we look back at Sharm el-Sheikh and the international summit that was held over there, and phase one, which was kind of shaky and unstable, and I think so many people were like doubting that we'd be able to move from, phase one to phase two. So I think, phase two is not that easy to initiate and commence. And when we see that the kind of committee, and I think that's something so immense, and so crucial. And I think, the Palestinian people are kind of rejoicing nowadays because they would see that kind of hope, and it's like a light in a very dark tunnel. And I think, it's not only about the Gazans. I think, the region and the entire world, we all have been waiting for that move. And even if we look at the formation of the committee itself, I think, that it took them kind of a long time to get that kind of formation of the committee, because the 15 people led by Dr. Ali Shas, I think that's a very crucial thing, because the expert, that the head of that, committee, I think he has a very long experience himself, if you look at the resume or the CV of that person. So I think most of them, if not all of them, are very much like this. So I think, the kind of task ahead of them is so immense.
Dr. Milad, you mentioned that Dr. Ali Abdelhamid Shas will be heading the committee, the Palestinian Technocratic Committee, to be running the Gaza Strip in the near future. Of course, the committee or the Board of Peace will be chaired by the US President Donald Trump. But in your opinion, we don't know yet who will be comprising the 50-member committee. Who will be the members of the committee? In your opinion, who will be included in the Palestinian committee to be running the Gaza Strip?
They have already decided on the members of the committee, and they convened today, as we all know about this. Today was the first meeting of the committee here in Cairo, and that's very important to us, that they held the committee or the meeting here in Egypt. However, when it comes to the different members, I'd like to mention that, that they are considered to be experts in their fields. And if you don't mind, I'd like to highlight a simple example regarding this. So it's about housing, and that is a very crucial issue in Gaza. We all know, and we have been seeing this, that 85 to 90% of all houses in Gaza have been demolished. Nothing over there. So I think, and that what we've been seeing, knowing about this, that what they need to build 400,000 houses in Gaza to accommodate, because we know that we have more than 2 million people in Gaza. So I think that kind of task is very crucial, that kind of task, and the person in charge of this is an expert. However, in my mind, it takes a long time. And I heard Dr. Ali today in a statement. He said that we need at least 200,000. I'm talking about the initial phase
Yes.
of the whole thing of their work. They need at least 200,000 of the pre-manufactured houses or shelters, I would say, because that's not considered like a house like any other house. I'm talking pre-manufactured thing. 200,000 they needed, in the first initial phase of this, because housing is a very crucial issue. And I'd like to add something else, which we have been all seeing is more than 2 years, is that the infrastructure of Gaza itself. Where is the infrastructure? Nothing there, there is no infrastructure by all means. For example, like roads, like, water, like electricity, and
Yes.
we cannot imagine how much money is needed over there. Because if we know the budget, because actually you pointed out to the Board of Peace, chaired by Mr. Trump, they agreed that they would have the budget of $53 billion, and that is a staggering figure. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
And we would consider, the work needed to be done over there. I think it's worth it, because $53 billion to get something that from scratch up in Gaza, I think that's a lot of work.
Dr. Milad, you've mentioned a very important point which took place for today, the first meeting for the 15-member Palestinian Technocratic Committee to be running the Gaza Strip in the near future. The first meeting was already held here in Cairo, and we do know the role of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the US President Donald Trump in even reaching the first phase of the ceasefire agreement that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt once again in the month of October. What does this say about the role of Egypt in ending the aggression by the Israeli occupation forces against the innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and to be looking to the future, looking forward to redeveloping and to be reconstructing the Gaza Strip? What does this say about the role of Egypt in both stages?
I believe, Egypt has been playing not only a significant role, but it is a very fundamental one in my mind. Because I think one thing I'd like actually all viewers to focus on, I think, last couple of weeks. I wouldn't go back to the start of the war, October 8th, or no,
yes.
I'd like only actually to focus on the last couple of weeks. Even, I would say that, at Sharm el-Sheikh and afterwards, I think it's been like more than 3 months now. I'd like actually, us to focus on the kind of work, and by the way, what we know about Egyptians' role in the last couple of weeks now since Sharm el-Sheikh, we know little, because Egypt has been working very, very, efficiently to get that work done. How is that? One thing, as I said, I'd like actually to focus on, or getting the Palestinian factions to sit at the same table. I think that was a very challenging task. Egypt has done this very marvelously and very efficiently, because when we look at the situation and that we get, for example, Fatah and Hamas to sit
yes.
at the same table and to come to some sort of agreement, I think people should know that it's not that simple, neither that easy, because we're talking different factions, not only Hamas and Fatah and the Palestinian Authority. We have so many different factions, in there. I'm talking about Gaza, and we shouldn't forget the West Bank as well. So when we get all of those factions, all of those parties together to agree that now it's time to face the truth. The truth is that, it's time to rebuild Gaza. Gaza, there is nothing over there. Gaza is uninhabitable, unlivable. So, and we should actually start working with this. And I think Egypt has done it. Hats off to the political leadership, President Sisi, to the government, and to the public support of the Egyptian people themselves, because we were all, and we have been all behind that kind of cause, the just cause of the Palestinians, that they need actually to live as normal human beings in their country. So I think what happened today, or the last couple of days, of that national community, it's not only symbolic of having all Palestinian factions together, it is very practical. That is a practical step that has been pointed out by Egyptians and has been like said by Egyptians or reminded by Egyptians to all Palestinian factions that we forget about all differences, we forget about all agendas, and we focus on one thing, the cause, the just cause of the all Palestinians regarding of their differences.
Yes, Dr. Milad, looking towards the future, and we do know the presidential directives of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the efforts of Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati, always speaking about the future, to be reconstructing the Gaza Strip, the development of the Gaza Strip. And you mentioned the importance of finding the resources, finding the money. Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are needed to be reconstructing the Gaza Strip. But in your opinion, what are the main challenges facing the implementation of the second phase of the ceasefire deal, aside from the money now?
I think we are actually, seeing or perceiving that would be like different challenges. One of them, as you said, okay, and we've been talking about, is money. But money is not the main challenge in my mind. Of course, money is very crucial, because talking about, okay, that kind of fund, a huge amount of money, it is, okay, a huge challenge. However, in my mind, is that, okay, as I said before, okay, Palestinians coming together, working hand in hand together in Gaza, I think that would make it much more easier. Something else, it's about the Israeli situation in the whole formula. We should be talking about this very straightforwardly. The United States of America should put more pressure on Tel Aviv to get that work done. The last country in the world that wishes that work to be done is Israel. Israel doesn't want actually phase 2 to start. Okay, Israel doesn't want that kind of committee to convene in Egypt. So I think, we need to put more pressure, okay, on Tel Aviv to get that thing done, to allow this kind of committee to work. And I wouldn't say that freely, because freely is kind of difficult, because we have been seeing the raids, continuous raids in the last 24 hours, by the way, by Israel on Gaza, despite the fact that Mr. Witkoff has already actually declared phase 2. But however, with all of this, Israel hasn't stopped. Israel hasn't said that, okay, we'll just stop it for now. So with the ceasefire, okay, that started at Sharm el-Sheikh, I think, we need more pressure to be exerted on Tel Aviv to get the whole thing done.
Yes, I'm speaking about Mr. Witkoff, the U.S. Special envoy from the U.S. President Donald Trump, the envoy Steve Witkoff. There was a phone call between Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati today and the Special Envoy from the United States, Steve Witkoff, regarding the situation, regarding the efforts of Egypt to be implementing the second phase of the ceasefire deal. And he hailed the efforts of the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Egyptian leadership and the Egyptian Foreign Ministry to be leading the situation into the implementation of the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire agreement, which took place and which was signed in Sharm el-Sheikh. How do you see the bilateral relations between Egypt and the United States, and more specifically the viewpoints between both countries regarding the Gaza Strip moving forward?
There has been a very close cooperation, coordination between the two capitals, Cairo and Washington, D.C. It's very evident. And I think, what we saw at Sharm el-Sheikh wasn't something that accidental, I would say. No, it was something that actually is very crucial. Yes. That wasn't just a mere thing that happened at Sharm el-Sheikh in my mind. It wasn't just a mere gathering what happened at Sharm el-Sheikh. It was a manifestation and a recognition of the kind of work that Egypt has been doing for the last more than 2 years now. So it's like saying and telling everyone in the world that we know how heavyweight Egypt is. And I mean it, and there is no exaggeration about this, by the way. No, it's not only about, that we are Egyptians, that's why we are pointing out to this. I think we need to listen to those European leaders and how they have been hailing the Egyptian role in the whole region, and how not only hailing, by the way, because they'd like actually to move from hailing and praising what we have been doing to relying on us. I think everyone knows in Europe, in the United States of America, that we are a reliable partner. you can rely on us wholeheartedly. And we don't have hidden agendas, by the way. And this is very crucial as well. We don't have twisted thoughts or whatever goals about this. We say what we mean. Our own intentions are very clear to everyone in the world that we are after the rights of our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We are actually talking about the basic human rights being secured to the Palestinians. I think there is, okay, we cannot negotiate over this. That's what I've been trying to say. When we're talking about human rights, it's something so basic. And the Western countries that who have been bragging about human rights, I think they should stick to what they have been talking about, and they should work on what they have been talking about equality, about human rights to everyone in the world. So once again, Egypt has been doing a great job. It's been actually hailed, and we have been waiting. By the way, we're not done. The Egyptian role is not over in my mind. It has just started. Can you imagine? And I've been talking about Sharm el-Sheikh and before Sharm el-Sheikh. No, I think, today, and with what we have been seeing, okay, and what we saw today in Egypt, I think that's only a start of another phase of the Egyptian role that we see it much more efficient in the coming month from now.
What are the next steps in the upcoming months? What is the role of Egypt in those steps for the upcoming months?
Okay, I think that's a very challenging question. The next steps. Next steps, I think we've been seeing that, okay, the meeting of the National Committee, and we are waiting for a very crucial step that meeting or that committee would move to Gaza. Okay, would go and settle over there, and they would start to take the first steps. Okay, by the way, first steps are very challenging, as we said. First steps here regarding, that gathering together the stuff needed to get it going, because it's not that easy. And this is one thing. The other thing, the board of peace that Mr. Donald Trump has been talking about, we need to see that board in action as well. And that's another step, a huge step forward. Okay, something else actually I'd like to draw attention to regarding the coming steps about, the rule of the Palestinian people inside Gaza. We need more of the involvement of the Gazans themselves in this process. Okay, providing them with the basic necessities, the supplies, and of course we have been actually seeing this even since Sharm el-Sheikh, and despite the fact that they agreed that they allow more convoys and trucks into Gaza, but we're still very little that we have been seeing. We need more and more of the aids and supplies going into Gaza. Okay, we have been waiting for long, and I think time to go ahead with this.
Yes, and finally, Dr. Milad, of course, we do know that there will be deployment for a stabilization force, an international stabilization force. What is the role of Egypt in such a force on the ground in the Gaza Strip?
Okay, first of all, and that's a huge actually question as well, because that stabilization force is not that simple. Okay, and actually it's two-way. One thing, which is that we have been training. We have been training some personnel here in Egypt, but that's not the stabilization force. That's only for police, general police inside Gaza. Stabilization force, we talk about I think more than 20 countries, that they've been willing to participate and take part into this. But I think that will take some time. Yes, so many countries are ready, and actually they are very much willing to do so. However, it takes some time. Egypt, on the other hand, is very much willing to contribute to whatever it takes to make the situation as ready to go ahead with this. And we have been actually telling everyone, all parties around the world, and that's what we have been telling United for America, that we are ready to go ahead with this. We are ready to contribute to this as well, the stabilization force, because it's not only a mere word, the word stabilization that you mentioned. We need it in action in Gaza, because Egypt has been seeing Gaza, and not only Egypt, everyone in the world has been seeing Gaza as what there is no stability in Gaza. And we need actually, to get to that point that we see stabilization force doing their work, getting Gaza to be stable in the nearest future. That is very crucial as well.
Yes, Dr. Milad Momtaz, the international relations expert, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International for this special edition.